Hey, it's your boy Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, hitting you with another review slash recap. This time for Ohsama Sentai King-Ohger episode 6. King-Ohger's been pretty strong all the way through to now, and even this episode was pretty intense. I got some pretty good things to say about it. A couple negatives, but mostly positives to say. But quick note here. As far as content on the channel this week, clearly this review and the Geats review to look for on the channel. As far as the show, I'm pretty sure that I won't be on today as we're recording this for the Henshins and Homies podcast. But there'll be, Frankie will be on. He might have a guest, I'm not sure. Talking about our topic, the Rider Continuum, what is it? And also the favorite bikes in Kamen Rider as well. So again, we might have a guest, might not. We haven't fully decided just yet. My wife is currently recovering from gallbladder removal surgery. So I wanted to make sure I was there for her in case she needed anything with pain and all of that. Plus she can't really lift the kids. If she needs help with the kids, she can't really do that. But anyway, so just a little, life update, I guess. But as far as King-Ohger, pretty good episode. We start right off, right at the very beginning before the opening even plays, with Gira getting there to Shugadam, and the citizens are so excited to see him, and they're lifting him, and they're throwing him up in the air, and he's like, what are you doing? Stop! What? He's like scared and doesn't like it or whatever, mainly because he wants to get to where Rockley's is, right? He doesn't care, he doesn't care about the people, but he cares more about getting to Rockley's and getting his revenge for what he did. And so he gets there, and pretty much everybody's excited to see him. And the bigger thing that kicks off most of the plot is they all get into the palace, and he goes there, and he's like, Rockley's sitting there, he's like, little brother, I'm so excited you're home. And he runs at him with the sword, and he's like, Rockley's! And jumps to attack him. He gets blocked by Kaguragi and Rita. And he says to him, like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Would you try to strike down your king? And blah, blah, blah. He's like, you're not my king, and he explains a bunch of other things, and just basically says how even though I'm related to you, that doesn't mean that, I have any respect for you, especially with what you said about using the people as a means, and that you are the kingdom. Those are your words. And as soon as he says that, Kaguragi and Rita both let their swords down and let him down. And it's funny because in the background you see Yama basically like, let him cook. Yeah. He's like the only one to be like, yeah, go ahead and attack Rackley's. But anyway, he's pissed at Rockley's. And when he mentioned that, Gira did, about what he said about the people are a means and, he is the kingdom, blah, 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 that is what stopped Kaguragi and Rita. And it's funny with Kaguragi Dabowski that it did that for Hachiyoger, because he seems to be more of the, morally gray, sometimes does evil things type guy, still sort of maybe working with Rackley's, but he's not sure. But even that was, too much. So I think that'll be the break for him for next episode, because next episode is supposed to be about Gira gathering the team back together again, is him seeing that, there'd be no reason to not believe Gira, because Gira's always been forthwith with everything and has never lied to them in any way, so why would he start lying now, basically? And so, they're having their back and forth, him and Rockley's, blah, blah, blah. And he goes to attack him again. He gets taken down by one of his little guard people, his little, retainer people, and put in shackles. And so the rest of the kings there, of course, him and Yanma, Kaguragi, and Rita are trying to figure out what they're going to do. And so about the Bugnarok attacks and all that. And Rita mentions that if you remember at the end of the last episode, the Sasarine or the Scorpion Shoe God Crystal thing gem is gone. And that she's like, it might lead to the end of the world. That is all. They're all like, what? Which is really funny. Again, she adds some really nice comedy to things, the way she's so blunt about stuff. So essentially, Rockley's pretty much tells them, because he says, we'll have to work together and blah, 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 kinda. But he eventually, tries saying about, basically being, you have to all answer to me. She goes, well, but by the treaty, blah, 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 we're not supposed to be controlled by one person or the other. It's supposed to be a combined effort here, like a group that works together. And he comes up and takes out his Ohsama Caliber 0, which has pieces on it. You know how the normal Ohsama Caliber has, the shoe gods, the main 5 shoe gods? This has the 3 special shoe gods on it. The Scorpion, the Grasshopper, and I believe the Beetle, whatever it is. Anyway. And slashes the paper in half. He's like, well, as of right now, that's gone. You will all subject yourselves to me or perish, basically. And they're like, what the fuck? So now at least they've all seen his true colors. I mean, Kaguragi, to an extent, is still sort of working for Rock Lee's, but I think it's going to start eating at him seeing how, the very strong possibility that Rock Lee said what he did, because Kaguragi doesn't see his people as that. He doesn't see his people as a means to an end. He respects and loves them and wants the best for them. But he's just willing to do whatever it takes to make them happy, even if it's something more morally ambiguous, if you will. And so, what happens? Oh, okay. So, Gira, calls out for Kuwagat, the Kuwagan, this is the thing, Kuwagan, the shoe god, comes through and it saves him, gets his Caliber, and they book it out. And like, what? How'd that happen? I'm like, oh, you don't know? He's like, what? He's like, he's able to talk to them. I don't know how it works, but he's able to talk to them. And we kind of get this idea that in some way Gira does understand the shoe gods, or at least Kuwagan. Anyway, so he lands somewhere and Yama approaches him and says, whoa, I'm not taking you in, I want to talk to you. Basically tells him that he's on his side and wants to know where he stands, wants to understand where he's really at with things, and if he's really feeling the way he does. Like, are you sure you're willing to do that? Are you willing to be that guy, basically? I think this might happen before the palace room confrontation scene. And he's like, yeah, I am, blah, 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 blah. Just more heated drama between men. But it's a nice scene. I like that Yama seems to be the only one so far that does at least somewhat care about Gira, or at least is very interested in him, and is like the closest to him. But I think the rest of the team will eventually come along. So Gira escapes, of course, and fights off some Bugnarok. He ends up fighting Kanajim for a little bit, who usually grows the monsters, to try and get the gem back, because they stole it, right? And there's a little fan theory thing going on right now that the one retainer of Rock Lee's, the like shorter, kind of chubbier guy, does a similar hand thing like this that Kanajim does. So they wonder if they're one and the same somehow, and that they're, Rock Lee's has no idea, and they're working, the Bugnarok have already infiltrated, basically. So he fights for a bit. The other King-Ohgers join as well. In the palace, it's weird. For some reason, their Ohja calibers don't work. They try to use them, and for some reason, it doesn't work. I don't know how they got that to work. But anyway, so they're doing their thing, fighting together or whatever, and he tries to call King-Ohger, and it doesn't work. And we see that Rock Lee's, like I said, has his own Ohja Caliber 0, which is basically a gold version of the normal Ohja Caliber, but only has 3 switches on it. One for the scorpion, one for, I believe, a grasshopper, and one for the other beetle, the Kabuto one, or whatever we've already seen, right? And he calls on something called King-Ohger 0 and Kuwagat 0. Of course, the people don't know this. They don't understand. They're just like, oh, you're using King-Ohger to save the day. And Gira confronts him in the crowd and is like, I would use it to help the people as well, and blah, 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 blah. And, but if you're going to be evil, and if you're going to, you have these evil means, I will use it to defeat you and the Bugnarok. And there's this really annoying guy in this scene that's like this citizen guy with this, like, broom that he's using as, like, a staff to accentuate everything he says. And he's so ridiculously intense. He's so fucking annoying. Oh, my God, I wanted him to shut up so much. And I got confused because he kind of looks like the one retainer guy that most people think might be actually Kanajim in disguise, but it wasn't him, and he's just really fucking annoying. But anyway, so the rest of the team basically backs Gira, and Gira ends up getting the stone back from Kanajim with help from Hachi-Ohger and a few of the other King-Ohgers. He actually tries to give it to Rock Lee's, and Gira takes it at the last minute. He summons Sasarine and uses it, and ends up stinging King-Ohger 0 using Kuwagat 0, right? And he's like, what are you doing, Sasarine? Like, he doesn't understand, doesn't really know it's not really Kuwagata, or Kuwagan, sorry. And the Bugnarok also talk about there's a plan where, like, each of the kingdoms have their own little cocoon underground from the Bugnarok that, if they, by a certain time, will explode and kill a bunch of the people there, or if they try to destroy it prematurely, same thing. So Rock Lee ends up using King-Ohger 0 to pick up the cocoon, throw it into the sky, then use Kabuto cannon to blast it and destroy it in the sky where it won't hurt anybody. But yeah, so like I said, it seems to be, that Gira is not clearly willing to work with his brother in any way, that he knows his brother's true colors and, sees him as a threat. And that the rest of the team is starting to feel that way. He already has Yama on his side. Himena seems to be sort of moving that way. She also has this weird thing about the Scorpion shoe god this week, Sasarine. I don't know why she's, like, making such a big fuss about it, but she does. It's really weird. Rita, I could see pretty easily being swayed just because she does know that he's honorable and she proved his innocence in the last episode. Kaguragi Dabowski or Hachioger is the one that I question the most. I feel like there's going to be a lot of episodes where we think we can trust him, that he's still going to do some things on the side. And I just hope it doesn't get annoying. I hope that it's like he eventually starts to like more like consistently work with the team and not cause a bunch of problems and stuff. But overall, it was a really, really good episode. I think it was really cool to see Gira come back home. And they even mentioned in it, Rockley says, you know, oh, well, you were kidnapped by, you know, bandits, basically, when you were young, and I haven't seen you ever since. And Gira basically is like, well, that doesn't explain my memory. Why do I not remember any of that? Like, this place isn't my royal home. It's just my home. These are my people. I grew up here. Like, yeah. But I like that Rockley's so very much so a threat. I think he has a lot of really good, like a long tenure left for him as a character. And I like that we're so early on setting this up as another secondary threat to just the Bugnarok. That we have this evil older brother that basically usurped the throne to an extent and doesn't want Gira anywhere near there to, you know, take it back from him, basically. Also interesting that without the help of Yama, they somehow have developed this Kuwagat Zero. It hasn't really been made clear if that's the only Zero form of the Shoe Gods that they've created, or if it's just that one so he can control King-Ohger. But it does allow him to also, the Ohja Caliber Zero allows him to become Kuwagat Ohger, which is a silver version, basically, of Kuwagat Ohger. So that'll be interesting to see for the next episode, because the next episode seems to be Gira trying to, you know, persuade each of the other King-Ohgers to fully join his crew, and, you know, probably having some trouble doing so, convincing all of them. And what can be assumed is Rockley's finally transforming, not just calling on King-Ohger Zero, but also transforming. So, again, really interesting stuff. I think it could really be some really good conflict, and I like we're starting it so early on. Sometimes shows kind of wait till really late in the game to get to this kind of drama, and I like that we're already there. I think that's a really good sign. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I would have liked a bit more with Kaguragi Dabowski having more to do other than just being, oh, guess what, I'm still working with Rockley. And if that fucking annoying ass citizen wasn't in it, I would have been so much happier. But score-wise, probably somewhere around a 9 out of 10. It was a really, really good episode. It was a nice follow-up from last week with, you know, the reveal of Gira as the brother to Rockley's, and that he's innocent, that he's not committed any crimes, all of that good stuff. It was a really good follow-up to that and set things forward for the next few episodes and where we're going with the plot overall for the season. But let me know in the comments below, what you guys think of the episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you in the middle? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on things. Again, I really enjoy seeing the conversations there that happen in the comments here and there. Thank you guys so much for watching, for sharing, for liking, commenting, all that really good stuff. I really, really, really appreciate it. But until next time, you stay hooked on heroes. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.